Wow, that right there is the awakening of free humanity in Rome, Italy, where the people are standing up against the idiocracy, discrimination, and centralization of power committed by their government. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski here of WeAreChange.org, and we got a lot of crazy news to get into today. As of course, things are getting very real in the world right now, and information is absolutely important when it comes to not just understanding what's going on, but also with the ability to live a happy and successful life. That's why we're going to be talking about all the major demonstrations and moves made by world governments in an attempt to get rid of human rights. Now, there's a lot to get into, so we're just going to be jumping right into it, as of course we have the latest news coming out of Wisconsin, where there was a tragic event which we're not going to be playing the videos of here on this independent, family-friendly YouTube channel, where a man, which now we're finding out was Darrell Brooks, a 39-year-old man who drove his car into a Christmas parade, which left 5 people dead and 30 people injured. A tragic event which is leaving a lot of people questioning what is going on here, as people are finding out that this suspect on multiple occasions posted online anti-white threats with BLM rhetoric, specifically even describing white people as, quote, the enemy. This along with his long, extensive criminal record, with him making posts like this, and even a video of him saying that he was, quote, pimping out a 16-year-old child, along with, of course, 25 different mugshots from multiple states, raises some very serious concerns, as there are some other reports talking about how he has received allegedly a very low bail, all as some people online mock this entire tragic event by saying, quote, poor white people. This representing a lot of very similar epithets by corporate media establishment shills like MSNBC that also just recently declared that Thanksgiving is all about, quote, white people celebrating genocide and violence against blacks. Yes, I'm not kidding you. This was some of the coverage by MSNBC that I didn't even believe at this point, and I had to watch the video myself, and that's exactly what they claimed to say Thanksgiving's about. Now, you know, the history is being questioned and debated, which it rightfully should be, but I think most people see Thanksgiving as a way to just, you know, sit down with your family and share thanks, and more importantly, go out and beat the crap out of each other for Black Friday deals over consumerist slave-made products that are hyped up moments before going on record sales on Black Friday. That's what Thanksgiving is really about. But to say that this is a holiday against black people and and that this is a, quote, violent, private, white supremacist celebration that is subsidized is, I would say, just a little hyperbolic, a little nonsensical. But of course, this is the new norm by the corporate media, including institutions like CNN, that just published an op-ed that is entitled, quote, there's nothing more frightening than an angry white man. Of course, highlighting the recent court trial that happened to Kyle, a man who the corporate media called a vigilante, in some instances even a terrorist, with MSNBC even going further, calling him a murderous white supremacist, which of course there is absolutely no evidence of at all. There's not even a hint of this being the case here. Kyle Rittenhouse even made statements just recently saying that he actually supports BLM, but to these race-baiting hate sleuths, their agenda and narrative is, of course, way more important than reality. By the way, the delusion has gone so far as there's even mainline celebrities like Mark Ruffalo and Pedro Pascal taking the side of the attacker in this case, Joseph Rosenbaum, who was a convicted hurter of children in unspeakable ways. Now, with the long history of Hollywood having with, of course, serial bad people, hurter of children, whether it's Kevin Spacey, Harvey Weinstein, Epstein, which we're going to get into in just a little bit, and many others who are still on the run, who never faced the true repercussions for their crimes, this kind of makes sense, since, of course, Hollywood has a long history of hurting children in unspeakable ways. Black Lives Matter, even recently in Kenosha, sang the praises of this person who hurt children in unspeakable ways, even publicly chanting his name. And all of this, I bet, probably makes Ghislaine Maxwell feel really optimistic about her upcoming upcoming court proceedings, which, as we know, she was Epstein's procurer of small children. She, of course, is facing some serious charges about that. As even Rolling Stone magazine wrote a headline saying that, quote, everybody absolutely is horrified in high society as they're bracing themselves for the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and rightfully so. It also just recently came out that Epstein and Ghislaine had some of the highest honors given to them by, of course, the Vatican, as they had a private meeting with the head of the Catholic Church a few years ago, getting, of course, personal blessings by John Paul II. Now, as this very important court proceeding goes on, you could expect the mainstream media to ignore a lot of significant facts surrounding this case that, of course, makes them or their friends look bad. That's why, of course, we'll be doing our best to talk about it as much as we can here on this independent media broadcast that, of course, is supported by you. One very easy way to support us is just, of course, by going to wearechange.org/donate. There's ways of signing up. There's ways of supporting us through Venmo, Cash App, cryptocurrencies, sending us physical mail, checking out some of the companies we work with, and even supporting us without spending any money, but using things like crypto-backed social media. Many ways to support us. Check it all out on wearechange.org/donate. Click the link down below. And later on today, I will be releasing yet another video on lukeuncensored.com. This one specifically with what I would do if I was 10 years younger. What would be my strategy? Where would I go? What would I invest in? I'm going to be talking about all of that specifically on lukeuncensored.com. To get that, also click the link in the description below. Now, let's talk about this mass awakening that, of course, is unfolding all over the world, not just, of course, Rome, Italy, where we got these stunning images of public areas just being filled with people raising their phones, turning on their lights, chanting together against, of course, their draconian government that has been absolutely out of control in Italy, that has demanded that you comply with the whims of government, that you have government permission paperwork everywhere you go, including buses, trains, airplanes, supermarkets, everywhere you go. They have implemented their own form of social credit score, their own domestic passport system, which you can't even work if you haven't gotten. This is a huge overreach of government power that largely inconveniences the population of Italy, and I think this is why we're seeing such huge demonstrations. But it's not just Italy. It's also Austria, which we saw huge numbers of people go out into the streets of, as of course Austria just recently announced that you will need to comply with its whims of government in order to fully be able to participate in society. A couple days ago, Austria specifically announced that if you don't have this procedure, we're going to lock you down. Now, just recently, they declared, oh, you took this procedure? We're going to lock you down as well. Pure hypocrisy and lies spread by the government of Austria there, as of course, record amounts of people hit the streets there to show their disdain about their current state that is becoming more oppressive to their daily innocent law-abiding lives. Belgium, of course, saw very tense protests and standoffs between the general public and, of course, the police there that have been put in charge in implementing a lot of this nonsense. Now, of course, a lot of police officers just blindly follow the decrees given to them by autocrats, by technocrats, by out-of-control, lunatic, sociopathic politicians, because for police officers, complying with the whims of insane people is a lot easier than, of course, actually protecting and serving. Now, these clashes in Belgium are not rare. They have been happening all around the world. They have been happening in many places where the government reaches the most and pushes the agenda the most. Now, these crazy scenes are nothing new, as of course even the Netherlands had riots break out in their country, as night after night protesters have been clashing with police, who of course are angry about having their lives stopped by an autocratic, big fat bureaucratic state that wants to control every aspect of their existence. And with the people by and large all over the world not buying the corporate media nonsense, not buying the narrative, not going along with the agenda, what do governments do? Well, they're doubling down like in Germany, where they just announced that the procedure will be mandatory for everyone, which again is against all science, logic, and human rights. Australia just announced that they hauled off 38 indigenous people because they were in close contact with someone who had a positive case of this sickness, as the local politician there bragged about how he used the military to ship off these 38 individuals into government quarantine camps because they had contact with someone. Yes, this is literally the stage that we're at right now, where in Australia, the army hauls people off for their, quote, health because they were in contact with someone.
As you know, last night we took urgent action to escalate our response in these communities, immediately implementing a hard lockdown. That means residents of Binjari and Rockall no longer have the 5 reasons to leave their home. They can only leave for medical treatment in an emergency or if required by law. It's highly likely that more residents will be transferred to Howard Springs today, either as positive cases or close contacts. We've already identified 38 close contacts in Binjari, and that number will go up. Those 38 are being transferred now. I contacted the Prime Minister last night. We are grateful for the support of about 20 ADF personnel as well as army trucks to assist with the transfer of positive cases and close contacts and to support the communities.
And that right there is absolutely insane and extremely dangerous for people's individualistic human rights. Here in the United States, the situation, although not as bad as many places around the world, is still a place where many powerful people wish and seek to implement the same policies onto you and your family members. This, as of course, the number of people who have allegedly died from this sickness surpassed the numbers from last year, while the current NIH director has called for people who don't believe in the narrative, who don't follow and blindly believe Big Pharma, to be, quote, brought to justice. Just as recently, the Pfizer CEO also announced that he believes people who, quote, spread misinformation should be criminals. Yes, if you don't believe the same government that was doing dangerous gain-of-function research on almost the same exact viral strain that's almost genetically almost the same thing, if you don't believe them, and criminal elements within Big Pharma that have committed atrocious acts against the American people that have hurt them before, bribing scientists, bribing politicians, bribing regulators, you're dangerous and you're a criminal. That's the absurdity that we're living in, and that to me is not okay. And if you agree with that, you need to share this video with your friends and family members more than ever, because it's truly you guys getting the word out there that helps people understand what's going on in this world. And if it wasn't for you guys doing that, I wouldn't be here. If you like this video, click like. I was going to tell you to dislike the video so I could actually get a fair rating of how I'm doing. Don't even have that anymore. This is only going to help, of course, scammers, charlatans, and of course people putting out bunk information and wasting your time, aka Dr. Fauci and politicians. My own personal opinion. I love you guys. I got another video coming your way on LukeUncensored.com. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.